So, Mark, I'm back from Oahu, going to talk all about my trip, Aulani, the Hyatt Regency Waikiki, North Shore, Pearl Harbor, everything that we did. But the one thing we didn't do is have Arby's on the beach.
Yeah, you were right nearby where I was too. Did you see my private beach? Did they put my sign, like my name up on it, Mark's Beach?
Nope, no, no sign of you anywhere. They know you hate them.
Oh, Waikiki, yes, true. Guilty.
So I'm back with my tan, and I'm really happy to be on camera because it's only going to last for a day or two before it all goes away and I turn pale white again. We had a great time in Oahu, Waikiki. I also got to meet up with some Miles and Points people. Wanted to give them a shout out. Had a great dinner, met up with some people that are local to there, and always nice connecting with fellow travelers wherever you go.
Was it Todd and Susan?
Todd and Susan and some other friends of
Nice.
ours, and crazy. It was a great conversation, like a 4-hour dinner. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's cool. It's always good. And I know they've been dying to have a meetup or something out there for years now. So it's cool that everybody was able to get together. And there's quite a few people in Hawaii, which is surprising. You wouldn't think there'd be that many travel hackers. Maybe it does make sense because it's so expensive to get, to the mainland from there and stuff. And but it's always funny how many people there are out there.
Yeah, we went to this Osaka restaurant that specializes in Osaka food. One of the cool things about Hawaii is you have so much Japanese culture there because there's so much Japanese tourism. Plus, there are a lot of Japanese descendants there as well. So you get a lot of that. It was really neat because I had never seen this, but Todd ordered a fish that was already sort of like skin, and then you kind of peel off the fish from the bone and then you put it on the sushi. So you make the sushi yourself. It was super good and fun.
That's like, remember, what was it in the 90s where they brought out like the little hot stone and you cooked your own steak and stuff at like a Japanese steakhouse type of setup, or maybe like a bit like a Mongolian barbecue too, places like that. But I just remember my parents loving going there. I'm like, why are we paying to come here and cook your own steak? I don't understand.
I don't know, but it was a lot of fun. They give you these plastic gloves so you don't get your hands all fishy, and you scrape the fish off, put the rice, the wasabi, everything. It was super good. Great conversation. So shout out to everybody who went there. But I guess we should talk about the flight over was super cool. I went on United, and that was our best sort of option. It was a quick connection through LAX. Got a super rare U-turn out of Vegas. We got to use the runway that flies right over the strip, and then we made a U-turn right back over the strip. Got to see the Sphere Fireball. I know this isn't the Vegas show, but it was a super cool look, and that was exciting. I just want to point out United, nothing special about it, but used the TravelBank for my platinum credits, and that's a super good use. We did it for Hawaii over the summer as well, and I love that because you don't have to worry as much about stuff. It was a good deal, and always nice to use that TravelBank.
What did you guys fly, economy or business over?
Economy, it was super cheap. I think about $150 one way.
Oh, nice.
On it, and it was on a 777 out of LA, so it was a wide body as well, which was very nice and comfortable.
Yeah, I noticed, when I was booking our trip and stuff and trying to find flights home, I was United to the West Coast cities was one I was checking. And it seems like their business, at least on that route, and maybe it's changed since then, but it seemed like their business setup wasn't the best on a lot of the planes. Like they had some like 232s, 242s, some weird business, like some old junk that you don't want to pay a premium for.
This plane definitely had their old business class, which I think is 7 across or 8 across. Not the best product, but super. It's like a 5-hour flight from LA, not a huge deal to sit in the back. It wasn't even full, so we had extra space as well and got to spread out a little bit. So great flight there. Now we went to Aulani and we got to stay there for 5 nights. And I've talked about it before, but my friend used DVC points to book a 2-bedroom villa there. And in exchange for that, for my part of it, I've been sort of bartering with him, paying for different rooms and points here and there and doing all of that. Super good way if you have a friend and you guys want to do that. Just remember, it's always nice to kind of use our miles and point stashes to offset things that we can't normally, use points for.
Yeah, and I know people do this with their, gardener or their nanny, stuff like that, or somebody that they know that does construction and like, hey, if I pay for the materials, you do the labor, I'll book you a trip here. Or do you want to go to like Italy? Or, if they know that they have an expensive trip upcoming, they can use miles and points to offset that. And people are willing to do labor for it. So, think outside the box. And like we always say, social engineering, having relationships, friendships and stuff opens up so much more than you can do just with miles and points. So, always consider that if there's something out there Like even if you have a niece or a nephew and you have little kids and you have an older niece or nephew and you're like, hey, do you want to go with us on this trip? We'll pay for you. You watch the kids maybe in the evening while we go out to eat, but you have free reign during the day, stuff like that. I think those are all good options.
Yeah, and when you have a friend that has DVC points, Aulani's super expensive. I think a regular studio room about $900 a night during our stay. I didn't even see what a 2-bedroom villa would have cost, but I'm sure it was in the many thousands of dollars. So it was a super cool thing. Shout out to our friend Dave. You can see him slicing pizza in our Vegas pizza video, but it was a great trip with them. But the 2-bedroom villa is super cool because it has a living room, has the full kitchen, so you can, do your thing like we stopped at the grocery store on the way, got some food and stuff like that. Each person has their own bedroom, great views. We had an ocean view, which means we were pretty close to the water, and great views of Aulani. When we talked last week, I briefly told you I had some very nuanced thoughts on Aulani, and I do, but I want to start by saying overwhelmingly positive. But I tried to sort of approach this on a non-Disney fan going to Aulani. What are you getting there compared to other Hawaii resorts? Is it really worth all of that? But I will start with the room. I think the room is really decent. Some people, when I posted this online, said it looked really dated. But again, this is a themed resort. It's Polynesian themed. And I really liked the room. I thought it was perfectly fine for what it was. It's themed to Hawaii.
I mean, Hawaii is updated too. It might be time for them. If you're charging that kind of money, I think it should like every 10 to 15 years, you should be doing something.
I don't know. The room didn't feel bad to me. And I'm pretty picky with rooms. It felt pretty good, but I do like that Hawaiian vibe and the theming of it. So you guys can see for yourself as I show you video of what it looked like if it's something that you're interested in. But we had a great view of the property, kind of looking down on the lazy river, the pool area. They have this cool snorkeling pool that you can pay $30 a day or $50 for your entire stay to do snorkeling with the fishes inside the resort, which is cool. Didn't do that because we did a lot of snorkeling out in the ocean, which is what I would recommend doing. One neat thing about Ko'olina, which is where Aulani is that they have these man-made coves. So when you go swim out on the beach, there aren't a lot of waves. You're in these man-made bays, which is super nice. So for the ocean swimming experience, it's very good as well. And the pools are very good. They have some pools. They have a really quiet adult pool area, a lazy river, and 2 water slides, 1 tube slide, 1 body slide, that I would say belong in a water park. They're really solid slides, a step above what you normally get in a hotel.
Oh, that's cool to see. And now, how does the pool and the water slides and all that, compared to the Waldorf Astoria in Maui with, your favorite pools ever?
Not up there, unfortunately. The lazy river is really good. It's a proper lazy river, better than like the one in Kauai. The pools aren't connected in the same way, and I would say the pool areas are a bit smaller. And that's my biggest criticism of Aulani, is they put a lot of hotel rooms in a small area. And I compare it to like Grand Hyatt Kauai or other resorts like the Grand Wailea, where you have these massive resorts where you have a lot of quiet areas, a lot of gardens, a lot of places where you can kind of get away from people. Aulani doesn't really have that because they put a lot on a small piece of land. So it has all of the amenities, but you're sort of on top of people all of the time. And I guess this isn't a huge surprise, but I'll say it anyway. There are a ton of kids everywhere.
So they wanted you to have the real Disney experience.
You really kind of do. I mean, it was kid overload, and I'm not, if you're not into kids, I would say stay away from that. I guess that's a pretty obvious thing. They do have a really nice adult pool area, which was quiet most of the time, and it is off to the side, so you can take advantage of that. But again, there's just not a lot of public spaces that are not used, and they really maximize everything there. But there's no complaints. The pools are really great. The lazy river, the slides, the experience out there. The beach is very nice. It's great for swimming because you don't have all the waves. And it's a great experience all around. What is the Disney in all of it? There's some good and bad. You get some character experiences. There's some shows. But really, unless you want to go out of your way to engage in the Disney stuff, it really just feels a lot like a Hawaii resort.
So what do you say for, like an adult couple that's obsessed with Disney but doesn't have kids and maybe doesn't want to be burdened with kids all around? Do you think it's still worth it with, the little bit of Disney that you get? Or do you think it's a skip and spend it on the cruise or just go to the parks?
Yeah, I think overall it's probably something that a Disney fan should experience. But I've heard Disney fans like fall over themselves for Aulani, and I don't really think it delivers a more premium experience than you would get at other resorts I've been to in Hawaii. People know I don't really love Disney hotels, so we'll start with that. I think that they charge twice as much as they probably should have for the level of hotel. I didn't feel that in Aulani. I felt like it was delivering a premium experience. So that was really good. The service was good. This was probably the best Disney hotel experience I've ever had. So I want to give compliments to them for that, but I don't really look at it with rose-colored glasses, and therefore I don't know if you didn't have a very specific reason to go there that you really should. There's probably better places to go, more relaxing places. It's right next to the Four Seasons, which shares the beach. It's a much
Better.
more intimate resort. It is, but then you're also sharing the beach with the Aulani people
Yeah.
and all the kids and stuff. So I don't even know if the Four Seasons there is as relaxing as, say, the one in Maui, which is incredible. That's where they filmed the White Lotus season 1, and definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah, just swim a little bit further past the Four Seasons, and then you're at Marks Beach. You can hang out there. You know, nobody's using it most of the time.
Yeah, it's great. There's 4 coves there. And what people might not know is all of the beaches in Hawaii are public beaches, which is neat. So they have public access. So you can actually go swim on these beaches, even if you're not staying at Aulani or any of the hotels. So keep that in mind. There are small parking lots, and there's often waits to park a car. So if you're taking a car, it might be a little bit of a wait, or you want to get there early. There's also some beaches near there where you can walk. There was a beach where seals kind of sleep, so you can go see that. And then if you walk maybe 10 minutes down the road to behind where the Paradise Cove luau is, they have a beach where you can swim with turtles just right off the beach, snorkeling, all of that. And that's like 10 minutes away. So there's a lot in that area. There's restaurants across the street. And then you're just a couple minutes from town with everything from Zippy's, all the different food. So yeah, it was a great location, and it was really a very nice experience. We spent most of the time at the resort. We went one day to the North Shore, which I'll talk about in a minute. My biggest sort of complaint is that it is Disney in the way that, like, for the kids club activities, you got to book them 45 days in advance because they sell out. It's like you're in the park where you're constantly in the app trying to do stuff. I am not a fan of that. And I will say my daughter did go to the kids club one day. They have these 90-minute activity sessions, and she didn't care to go back the second day. And she's a kids club fanatic. So I don't know what that meant. She said she had fun, but she wasn't rushing to go back.
Yeah, that's interesting. And, you know, 90 minutes doesn't seem like a ton either. You can't get much done if your kids is only blocked for that. And it's annoying. Like, I don't like planning for vacation, especially a beach vacation. That's what I hate about all inclusives too, is that you have to, like, the first day you have to go up there, at least at some, and get like your dinner reservation set up for the week. And so it just feels, or you have to get up in the morning at some places and get down there and try to grab what you can. And it just feels like in today's technology, it should be a lot easier, and you shouldn't have to jump through all these hoops and stuff. It doesn't seem like the greatest system, and it takes away from the vacation experience. So I'd rather just stay somewhere I can go off resort to eat and do what I want. But I understand why people feel like that's a good fit. But what do you think? Like, is it better? I know we're going to talk about Waikiki in a second, but is it nice to kind of be away from the craziness of Waikiki, which is like the other main option when you're on the island? Like I feel like it's two completely different experiences.
I totally agree. And it is in a resort area, which is nice. And if you've been to Hawaii before, you know a lot of the big resorts are in resort areas that often have condos and golf courses, and it's sort of a contained area. And that's how this is as well. So you do feel isolated from the city, from the traffic of Oahu. And if you've ever been on Oahu, it feels in certain areas just like any city in the US, especially as you get closer to Waikiki and downtown Honolulu. And you get away from that. So I do feel like you get that sort of island experience that you would get on other islands, which is really nice. And I really enjoyed that area as well. It's not far. What is it, about 20 minutes from the airport, 25 minutes. So it's super easy to kind of get around, easy to get to the North Shore. So I found that part really good, and it didn't feel like you're on a busy, hectic island.
Now, one question: when we were at our Arby's Beach doing our thing, a couple of the people walked down to the resort because they had heard that there's like special stitch ears there that you can only get there, or something like that. Do they still do that? Is that something unique that maybe people would want to just drive over and check out?
That didn't hit my radar. You should have told me before I went. Thanks, Mark. Didn't see those, but I did want to talk about the character experiences. They do have shows like at the pool where they have the characters doing shows and getting everybody to interact, which was super cool. Mickey is around quite often. You can see him doing character meet and greets, Moana, Stitch. So you can find the characters around, but they're not everywhere. Like, you don't see them all the time everywhere. They're not overload. And that's where I sort of said you can engage with the Disney here as much or as little as you want, but it's not over the top. You don't feel like you're at a Disney theme park or something like that, but you get the little tastes of the character interactions. And you don't have huge lines a lot of the time like you would in the theme park. So that's good, but didn't see the Stitch ears, unfortunately. I guess now I have to go back.
Well, maybe just like drive over, and we had talked about doing that when we had our layover in Oahu. Like, oh, could we drive there? Because we rented a car. It ended up being cheaper to just rent a car and store our luggage in the trunk versus checking the luggage at the airport or trying to check it when we were in Waikiki. It just ended up being cheaper, and it was easier, especially when you consider one, it was cheaper than paying the fees to check the luggage. It was like $50 car rental, and two, then we didn't have to get an Uber or anything like that. So it was just ended up being the best option for us. So we had thought about driving there just for my daughter is a big Stitch fan, so we were like, oh, could we do that and still have lunch? We didn't have enough time with what we had going on.
So I guess bottom line on Aulani for me, I've stayed at Grand Hyatt Kauai 4 times. I've stayed at the Hyatt Regency Maui a few times. I've stayed at the Grand Wailea a few times. So those are my places that I'm drawing from. I haven't been to every resort on every island. I've walked a lot of the resorts as well. I think I would choose those other places over this unless you really, really needed the Disney experience. The premium just wasn't worth it to me, but there's nothing I could complain about this. I know when I said I had nuanced thoughts to you last week, you thought I was going to complain. It was a great experience all around. I'm just trying to compare it and say, is it really worth the premium? It all depends on the price. But for me, the extra little Disney stuff, I prefer a bigger spread out resort. Now that said, like I've complained in the past, like the Grand Hyatt Kauai is so big. If you get put in a room on the end, Grand Wailea is the same thing. You could be walking for miles everywhere, and you don't have that here. It's very contained. So that's could be a positive for some people as well.
Now, let's say at the end of this, you had your checkout bill and it was $2,000 a night, $10,000. Do you think there's any value there?
No, and I think that I'm biased in all of that because I don't go pay thousands of dollars for my hotels. Like our Hyatt Regency Waikiki, it was going for $600+ a night when we were there, which for that hotel is a bit nuts. But again, I think we're a little detached in this space from the cash price. But I wouldn't do that. If I was going to pay that kind of money, which again I probably wouldn't. I would choose another resort. I hate to say that, but there's nothing bad I could say. It's just I prefer a more relaxing atmosphere that I did not get at Aulani, and there's nothing wrong with that because it is Disney, and you expect a little bit more of the kids kicking you in the back in the pool.
Yeah,
May
you
or
don't want
may
to hear
not have
kids
happened.
scream for $2,000. You don't want to hear kids scream? I mean, come on.
We were in the hot tub one day, and it was like overloaded with kids, and there's like these 4 and 5-year-olds that the parents were nowhere to be found, and they were literally just kicking us in the hot tub and then trying to like push us out of the way. And I had to tell this little 4-year-old girl, no, you can't do that. They were pushing our friends, like just trying to like, just literally going and pushing them so that she could like go to the edge of the hot tub. So you get stuff like that, and that's not a lot of fun.
Oh, I don't mind parenting other people's kids if they're nowhere around. I'll tell them very sternly,
I did. I felt a little mortified, but I did in a nice way though. And she was cool. This little girl, she took it. She went to the other spot that I told her to go look where she wanted to look, and it was all good. But you're gonna get that at a Disney resort, and I'm not gonna sit here and complain about it. It's Disney.
Yeah, I think you just have to, know that that's going to be a thing. But like you said, if you're spending that kind of money, you want luxury, you want, basically feel like it's a private resort at points. Like you don't want to feel like you're bombarded with people. That doesn't feel very luxury. And that was a big problem with me with the Waldorf in Maui. Like people were paying this price and it was so massive. It didn't feel, special in any way in that respect. Like there was people everywhere all the time. It felt like just like a big run of the mill resort on the beach, which is fine and it was nice. It had a lot of great public areas, but it just didn't feel like a what you expect out of a Waldorf, like a boutique type feel, a little bit higher end service, all that type of stuff. Like if I was, and I heard people on the elevator talking about them booking it at Costco and stuff, and I know they still spent $6,000-7,000 for like a 4-night stay there, and I'm like, I would not feel like that was worth it.
I agree with that. I think in general, Hawaii prices are the same. I mean, I love the Grand Hyatt Kauai, but the last few times the cash prices have been $700-800 a night. I don't know that I would pay that there either. I think you're right. The Waldorf Astoria, Grand Wailea is a little weird because it doesn't feel like a luxury property. It's a mass market family property. I still love it for what it is, the big spaces, the gardens, the pools, as we've talked about. So yeah, you're not getting that luxury experience, but you're not getting that at Aulani either. So, I think they're probably comparable in the level of resort that they are for families and stuff. It's just Grand Wailea has a little bit more space. I do prefer Maui a little bit more, but I have not been there since the wildfires, so hard to kind of compare that. but I do feel like Oahu is a little hectic, and we can talk about the North Shore now, but just driving around, you have freeways, you have stuff that you don't have on the other islands. So, you can run into huge traffic jams, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about the North Shore. I've heard great things, and my buddy was stationed out there for work for a couple months, and he went up there and did like a golf course, through the jungle or whatever. And he said it felt like you're golfing on a Jurassic Park set. It was pretty insane and everything. So what'd you think? Like, I know people commented in the last video that it's kind of a pain in the butt to get up there, speed bumps and all this stuff, and the driving isn't the greatest. So what'd you think?
I thought it was great. It wasn't too bad. I drove the whole time. It's a 2-lane road for most of it, but it didn't feel all too bad. It's typical of those sort of coastal roads that you would have, but it's not like some of the treacherous roads you have in Maui, 1 lane, like very narrow. It's a pretty decent highway. So yeah, just like anywhere in a lot of those Hawaii with those small towns, you're not going fast, right? You're not driving 60 miles an hour, but our buddy Dave, he loves going places that TV shows were filmed. So he made us stop at some of the beaches where Lost was filmed, which was actually really neat. So the first season they filmed it at this one beach, and then they moved it to other places because it was too public. And I guess the public was getting into the filming sets. But we went to the first beach that they filmed at, a super cool beach, not a lot of people there, very pretty, but the water wasn't great for swimming or anything. We also stopped at a place called Shark Cove, which is these tide pools where you can go snorkeling. And because all the fish get kind of caught in the tide pool, there was so many fish in there, and it's right off the coral. I mean, there's a lot of coral, so you got to watch your feet and stuff, but it was a really neat place to snorkel. And we went further down. Ended up all the way at Turtle Bay, which is the famous resort where Forgetting Sarah Marshall was filmed. And Turtle Bay just turned into a Ritz-Carlton. It's a very old resort. It looks straight out of the 1970s in the architecture and stuff like that. And it's so funny, Mark, because we approached it, and the right side of the resort, there's where there are little beaches there, and they have some bungalows, and it looks like crap. I mean, you walk up and you're like, this place just does not look nice at all. Like, this was a super disappointing area. And then as we sort of walked around the back, got to the pool area, and then the other side of the resort, that's where they actually filmed Sarah Marshall, those nicer bungalows and stuff. It looks much nicer, and they're still in the process of renovating it, I guess, with the new owners, and it's Ritz-Carlton. But it's crazy because the surf there was insane. Surfers out there. And the lobby there has water on both sides because it sits on a peninsula. So you have the beach and the bay on one side, and then where all the surfers are on the other. And you're standing in the lobby looking at that on both sides. Really cool, but there's no way in hell I would go stay there because it does not look like that nice of a property or one to go out of your way for. But it was cool to walk. And when you see the beach where Sarah Marshall was and those bungalows and stuff, you instantly recognize it.
No, that's cool. And I like going, where stuff was filmed, especially if it's a show I love. And Lost was one of the greatest shows, at least the first like 4-5 seasons was. The last couple seasons were kind of terrible, in my opinion. But it's cool to see that type of stuff. And Forgetting Sarah Marshall is a great movie. A lot of funny lines in there. And it was like so much on the resort that it probably would be hard not to recognize parts of it where other places film and it's like, oh, okay, I think this is where it was, but you can't really tell where it was like they just walked all over that resort, it felt like. But interesting to hear that it doesn't look the greatest, but with Ritz-Carlton coming in, I think that they'll, make it in the next couple of years, it'll probably be up there, top notch type stuff. So what else? Did you guys go anywhere else on the North Shore? Like, is there a little town, other beaches and stuff to hit up? Is it worth like the day trip?
I think it's definitely worth the day trip. We stopped at a few other places. There's another Lost filming location that's not far from Turtle Bay. That's where this famous banyan tree is, and it's where they filmed a lot of the scenes with the smoke monster and all those scenes in the forest and all that. It's right off the beach. And so you have the other beach where Lost was filmed. And we drove through some of the towns. We didn't really stop at a lot of places, ate at some food trucks that were right across from Shark Cove. And there was a waterfall near there that we were going to go hike and swim, but I guess it was the dry season and they said the water was kind of nasty, so we didn't do that. Saw like an ancient ruin site for like warship and stuff like that. So it was really just sort of driving, stopping a little bit. And then our main swimming was at that Shark Cove where that's great snorkeling right off the beach. If you like that, you don't like to be kind of out in the exposed ocean, but you want to see a ton of fish, this was a great location to do that. And it was just kind of a chill day doing all of that and, making our way back and, just stopping at the beaches, seeing all this stuff. It's a beautiful area. I mean, to see the surf and all the surfers out there, and especially as we got to Turtle Bay and the sun was starting to set, that was pretty magical to watch the water and all of it. So, the only reason I say I wouldn't stay at Turtle Bay is like I compare it to the Four Seasons that's by Aulani, and that's a much nicer resort and similar feel, and I think it's in probably a better location. So that's just what my comparison is. I don't want to trash Turtle Bay. It just, again, the beach area just looked very subpar, but they probably are going to be working on that. And it's certainly a famous hotel and a one that a lot of people want to go out of their way for, but we didn't see any turtles there. So there's that.
Yeah, what did you guys do for snorkeling? Did you bring your stuff? Did you buy it at like Target when you first landed, or did you just take it out from Aulani? Did they give out snorkeling? Could you rent it? How'd you guys do that?
Yeah, Aulani, they charge like $30 a day for a snorkel, which is insane.
Oh,
They're
might as well buy one.
Yeah, in the town nearby, you have Target, Walmart, all the kind of shops that you would want to go to. We brought our masks. We didn't even use snorkels in that little area. We just had masks with us, so yeah, we were gonna buy one, and then we had enough. We had the mask. Ultimately decided not to buy a snorkel, but that's what I would recommend. Either bring it with you, or you can stop at. They even have a Costco. They have all the stuff that you would want as far as stores go in order to buy that stuff, and that's going to be a cheaper solution for you. Just buy it and leave it there. Even if you want, it's going to be cheaper than renting it at your resort. And I do recommend that because there is some great snorkeling everywhere. Even at Aulani, that beach near the Paradise Cove luau, there was turtles and all of that stuff right there on the beach. So that was super cool. One other thing we did on a different day was the Dole Plantation, which is sort of like I don't know, it's a touristy stop that everybody does. I would have probably skipped it, but my friend really wanted to do it. And you get to see where they're growing all the pineapples, and it's a free experience. You can go see some of this stuff, and then they have like a train that you can buy a ticket to and a garden. We did the train because I'm a sucker for small amusement style trains. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
Do they have Dole Whips though?
They do. They have Dole Whips, really good nice. Dole Whips, and all kinds of pineapple related stuff, all kinds of Dole related, a giant gift shop with everything that you could imagine.
Upside down pineapple t-shirts.
No, but it's funny because I saw so many pineapples there like that, and I had the same thought. It's terrible. I've been doing this show with you for way too long that I almost made the joke to our friend Dave, but I didn't think he would get the reference to it, so I just never made the joke. But I was seeing I was like, where's the upside down ones? But yeah, didn't see any.
Oh, missed opportunity there, I think. They could have sold a lot of those.
But yeah, it's cool. I think it's worth a quick stop if you're already driving by there. I don't know that I would go out of my way for it, but if you're really into Dole, I guess, or, you could get Dole Whips at Disney as well. They also have like Mickey shaped shaved ice, stuff like that. So that's a little bit more Disney stuff, but yeah, Dole Whips everywhere. I think I saw them a bunch of places around the islands. And I did want to talk about Waikiki because we ended our stay on Thursday, Friday night at the Hyatt Regency Waikiki. Now, Mark doesn't like Waikiki that much. It reminds me a lot of the Las Vegas Strip, I think it reminds me kind of the Strip.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's Fort Lauderdale. It was basically Fort Lauderdale, but probably more expensive.
With a ton of ABC stores. It's funny, the Hyatt Regency Waikiki has 3 ABC stores just in the hotel, and there's probably 1,000 of them within them. That's like a Hawaiian version of like a 7-Eleven or something like that, but even better. So that's all cool. So the Hyatt Regency Waikiki, I booked myself in there. No suite upgrade was available, so it was just on points. I believe it's a category 5. And I want to say we had some mixed experiences there, but ultimately in the end, it was good. Dave booked with a guest of honor, my guest of honor, Cert, so he should have had the globalist experience. And the day before in the app, they pre-booked us into rooms. They booked me into an ocean view room, which is great, an oceanfront room, actually, which is their sort of highest category standard room. But they booked him into just a city view room while they still had ocean view rooms bookable. I'm lucky I had looked at the app the day before. So when we arrived there, my room wasn't ready, but his room was ready. So we went to go leave our bags in his room, go look, it's overlooking a construction site. And I was a little frustrated with that because they did not give him the upgrade like a globalist should get. They did not treat him properly as the guest of honor.
Yeah, and I think you just have to be a little forceful at times. And I think they did this when you would book me a guest of honor for the Park Hyatt in DC and stuff, and they're like, oh, we don't have a room available. We do have a suite available if you want it for $50. And I was like, whatever, I just wanted to get in there. And then you're like, no, that should have been if it's available. He's technically a globalist. I don't even remember if it was Diamond back then, but he should get that perk. And then they waived it off, or I think your concierge did it. But it does seem a lot like properties don't show that. But it is nice now, you know, you can transfer them to people for them to book in their own account, which makes it a lot easier. And then you can see on your reservation, it says guest of honor now. I don't know if it did before or not, but it does say that. So at least you can pull that up and say, no, I have guest of honor. I show these rooms available. I should get those. A lot of people won't do it. I know Dave would never do that.
He would never do that, but luckily Shawn was with him, so we took care of it. And it's funny because we checked in together, and I asked about this at check-in before I knew this terrible view that he had. We hadn't seen the room yet, and she's like, well, there was only one available, and we gave it to you. But that's ridiculous because our reservations weren't linked in any way, and this is a room, this is a giant hotel with tons of rooms, so that's ridiculous. But anyway, we're giving it the benefit of the doubt, see the rough room. And other thing that had happened is I received an email from the VIP manager about a week before the stay. Dave did not. So another way that he was not treated in the same way. But I had the email, so I just nicely emailed them and said, this room is disappointing. You know, we just want them to get the view. And they did figure it out and got him a better room with the view. At that point, I had not seen my room yet, but I was really glad to get that resolved. And again, we weren't asking for a better room like a suite or just the view that he should have gotten based on how they blocked the rooms with his globalist benefits. So they did right by that. And then my room was ready and it got even worse.
I mean, I'll jump in here real quick with one tip that I've found that I enjoy doing is if there's no suite upgrade available, or if you don't have an award to use or whatever, but you see some suites available, you can reach out like a week out, or if you get that VIP email, say, hey, you know, some places will give me a suite guaranteed for $50 a night. Are you willing to do that? And they'll take the money, even though you might have gotten it for free anyway. They'll just give it to you. And that's how we got at the Grand Cypress in Orlando. We got that one suite that has like the huge balcony area off to the side. I think there's only 2 of them in the hotel. It was really, really cool. Well worth the $50 that we had that whole outdoor area just to hang out. You could watch the fireworks and stuff. One of the better suites at Hyatt that I've received. So that's something worth reaching out if it's important to you. Some people don't care, which I get. I know our buddy Rob, a certain hotel in Thailand, he doesn't even want a suite because he says it's noisier or brighter and gets hotter and all this stuff. So I guess it depends.
Yeah, and I didn't really care about a suite on this. It wasn't, I did email them when she emailed me and I asked about if there were suites, but I didn't offer to pay. And she said, we're pretty full. They did end up being almost completely full to their credit for this weekend. So, you know, I wasn't expecting a suite. Got an 8th floor room, which I was hoping for something higher, but no big deal. It looked right over Waikiki. The view was fine. I filmed the room. I start noticing there are black. So the room is light blue in the paint and there's a light blue wallpaper. The wallpaper was cracking in at least a dozen spots. That's not a deal breaker. The blue wall had black marks top to bottom everywhere. I mean, I've never seen a room this dirty. I will show video picture. And then as I kind of went around the room, the thing that really got me was the bed skirt was completely stained, like just stained. It had a stain on it that the housekeeper didn't see. And so looking at this room, seriously, the dresser was dinged to hell. I mean, this room had been through it. This was not an acceptable Hyatt room.
I'm going to say that room was rode hard and put away wet.
It absolutely was. That's an understatement, Mark. An understatement for once, with one of your euphemisms. But anyway, so I emailed them and I basically emailed them, but then I decided to go to the front desk. And I just very nicely went to the agent at the front desk, said, I've already had to resolve these other issues. Can I speak to the front desk manager? They brought over a supervisor, asked them to speak to his manager in a very nice way, because I really wasn't that upset. I just wanted a different room. You know, they were busy, all of that. And I want to say the staff, everybody we interacted with, super friendly, really did give that Hyatt experience. So some nuance here. And then the manager, Robert, came out. I explained everything. He apologized. And I want to give a tip to people. If you really are not trying to angle to get something better, in this case, I wasn't trying to get a suite from him. I wasn't trying to get anything more. I just wanted a room that wasn't beat to hell. So I was okay with the category of room. I made sure to tell him that up front, because I think that managers, oftentimes people are always trying to get things from them. And if you just say, hey, give me the same room, you know, an equivalent room, that's all fine. It will generally work out better for you. But I did that. He was super nice. He offered as compensation. And this is also something, if they offer something fair, I like to take it. I'm not always trying to angle to get the very best possible thing from them. He offered at that moment, he said, let me see what room I can get for you. He said, how about you guys? And he also offered for the entire group, including my friends, to do an excursion. So he said, just go to the excursion desk, and any excursion you want to do, we will book that for you and take care of it, which I thought was super generous. And, instead of points or whatever, he said he wanted to make the experience good there. And I thought that was super cool. And then the big shock is that he upgraded us and put us in a 1,000 square foot oceanfront suite that goes for a couple $1,000s a night, or was going for a couple $1,000s that night. It was newly renovated in beautiful condition, 31st floor, overlooking Waikiki, one of the best rooms in the entire hotel. So credit to him for that. Did not expect that. And so it started off really rough. The rest of the stay went great. The staff was great. And this is how you recover from something that's not great at a Hyatt. And this is why I could recommend the service at this hotel. He did say that there are some older rooms that they're renovating. The other thing I forgot to mention is Dave's original room, the whole hallway smelled like paint. So they were painting the rooms on that floor, and they didn't take the rooms offline. They're probably not the best idea either, but he said they're working hard to get those old beat up rooms fixed. So hopefully that will be the case.
Yeah, and I think that's all people want when they run into issue is somebody competent to hear the problem and then fix it. And if they would have just put you in the same room and not done anything else, that would have been fine. Your experience would have been still a little bit ruined because the frustrations and stuff, it takes a while to get over that or to move past it. And, the time invested in it, a couple, maybe an hour or so of your vacation, which you don't want to do, and just the frustration level. Even if they just throw in a couple drinks at the bar or whatever, at least that will okay, I'll go have a drink. I'll calm down, whatever. I think that would be like the bare minimum. If they do anything above and beyond that, it really does flip like your whole view on the stay or what you're willing to recommend going forward, or even if you're willing to come back. Maybe if they wouldn't have, they would have given you a clean room after two mishaps on the room to start, like two not great rooms. They give you the regular room. You're probably like, you know what? I probably won't come back here. It's fine. It just wasn't worth it, especially at a Cat 5 or 6 or whatever. It's not going to be worth the points to maybe have to deal with that again. But when you know that the service can handle an issue and they act promptly and go above and beyond, much less just do, what you expect, I think that makes it more willing that you're going to come back. So yeah, it costs them a little bit on the front end, but they're probably going to make up something on the back end because of it.
And Robert, to his credit, when I had this whole conversation with him after he fixed the room, he gave me his email, and he also sent an email to me with all of the managers at the hotel on this thread because it said it was going to be his days off. But he even answered his emails on the days off. And I just want to say, follow up with hotels if you do have a problem and then you have good experiences. Make sure to tell them. So I made sure in that thread with all the managers, not only to compliment how he handled it, but to compliment the other staff that I had encountered, because sometimes it's easy to complain, but it's not always easy to compliment. And I feel like if I did complain and it got better and they really did fix it, I want everybody that works there to know that I appreciate that. And so I think that's always a good thing to do too, is to say, hey, you guys really did fix this. Everything was good. And I want to point out that the staff here was good. The staff here was good. And so they get that positive feedback too.
Yeah, I think that's important. Anytime I have like a really good check-in experience, I try, if I got that email, I try to say, hey, George or Sally or whatever, check-in was great and, went above and beyond, just, and it's simple things. I just really appreciate competent people that don't waste time and kind of know what they're doing. So I always try to make a point to point out, one, it, reinforces encouragement that they continue doing it. And then they appreciate that somebody appreciates what they're doing.
So one last thing there, we did have the activity that they offered us, and travel hackers could have gotten crazy with this because they had helicopter rides and stuff like that. I don't know how much of a bill we could have racked up with that, but we didn't choose our activity based on that. We just did something that everybody we thought would like, which is snorkeling at Turtle Canyon, which is just off of Waikiki. So you take a catamaran out, and it was a nice kind of couple-hour cruise. I think it was like $80 each, so it was basically a $400 value that they did for us. Far from the most expensive thing we could have chosen. But again, we didn't choose based on like, how can we get the most from them? We just chose based on an activity that sort of worked for us. It was convenient. It was near the hotel. They even booked it in pretty quick notice because it took me a little while to kind of get everybody's opinion and get back to them. And that was a cool experience. Tons of turtles. So we had a beautiful, snorkeling experience. You got great views of Waikiki from the water. And we ended our trip at Pearl Harbor, going to the USS Arizona Memorial and teaching my daughter some of that history. Always cool when you have little kids to kind of show them history in real life.
Yeah, I think, it impacts a lot more. They're going to learn about it in school, but having them see it, feel it all that type of stuff. And, I took my son to the 9/11 memorial when he was around 7 or something. And I don't think it really set in, but he started to pick it up. And then now he's learning about it in school and stuff in history and everything. And he's like, yeah, I've been there. I saw what was left of the support beam in the ground, how massive that is and how crazy all this was. So I think it's always good. And that's something, we joked about last episode about taking kids out of school and people giving us nasty notes about it. These are the type of things that they get. And I think they remember it better, or it resonates better with them because they have that experience to fall back on while they're reading about it or learning about it.
Yeah, and Pearl Harbor is a super important place to visit. It's a neat place just for the history of it and getting on the water. You do have to book everything ahead of time. Here's my sort of caveat. I hate 2025 travel for this reason, is like you used to be able to just show up places, and now you have to pre-book tickets. Like for Pearl Harbor, Diamond Head, we didn't end up getting to go there because it's closing early right now for construction, and we couldn't get tickets for that, which you used to be able to show up there when I did it before. So just make sure you pre-plan everything. Any activity, look to see if you need time tickets and stay on top of that. But that's just the world that we live in today.
Tickets. Hate it.
Yeah.
It's like the whole world's becoming Disney crap.
Yeah, exactly. Disney is spreading. But it was just a great trip. And we flew Hawaiian Airlines back. And that's the first time I've ever flown Hawaiian Airlines over the ocean. I've flown them inter-island before. And this was a direct flight from Honolulu to Las Vegas. I think it was 15,000 Hawaiian miles per person, which was cool. It was on an A330, so another wide body. And the flight wasn't super full, so we had plenty of space. We were able to even spread out. And it was great. And Hawaiian, on their long haul flights, they serve a meal in economy. So it was like a pizza pocket, but it's kind of cool that you get some food there too on a 5-hour flight, which is not something you get with the other airlines.
Yeah. And I found that strange when I flew from Hong Kong to Bangkok. It was like a 2-hour flight and they served a full meal in economy on Emirates, which I was like, oh, okay. You hear about that internationally, but you don't really expect it, especially at 2 hours. I'm like, this was a bit overkill, and it wasn't the greatest, but it was something at least. And that's cool to hear that they have it on there. And that's a good route. I don't think people think about booking that, but that's a good route. One for economy. I had booked it for $20K, so you can get it in the 15 to 20K range. I think you can get lie flat business class in the 60 to 80K range. Definitely on 80K, that's what I saw, but I think it might dip down to 60. So that's another option too. Membership rewards transfer there for the time being until they shut that down. So, that's easier, probably the easiest points to earn out there. And it's a good way to get to or from the island.
This was a very old A330. I will say that's one of the older planes I've been on in a while, but it was fine and plenty of space, like I said. And it's nice to fly directly home. Believe it or not, I think this was our 9th trip to Hawaii and the first time we ever did a direct flight from Hawaii to Las Vegas. So that was super nice at the end of the trip to just get in the airport and be home at the end of it. And overall, it was just a great trip. A lot of great things. The small problems at Hyatt, but they fixed it. And, that's all you can really ask for. Things are going to happen when you travel a lot, and how they handle it is really how it's all done. At the end of the day, man, how blessed are we to be able to take trips like this? That's how I felt. It was just a great time, nice and warm, but not too warm, cool at night. So this is a great time to be in Hawaii as well. Got to meet up with super friendly locals, my friends over there in Hawaii. So top to bottom, a great trip.
One last question. Going to the North Shore, what's the drive round trip? How long did it take you guys?
I mean, we spent the better part of a day doing it because we stopped so much. But I think from like Aulani or the outskirts of Waikiki, it's about 30 to 40 minutes to get up there, depending on it. Coming back, we ran into some traffic just because the base there's several lights that people are coming on and off the base, and we kind of hit a shift change, I think. So there was a ton of cars doing that. So, and it's just a 2-lane highway going up there. But yeah, I didn't hit a lot of traffic. The traffic I hit was in Waikiki or, in downtown Honolulu and that sort of stuff. Like the last day going to Pearl Harbor, it took us like 40 minutes to get there when it should have been 20 because there was accidents. And then Google Maps took us on this weird road that was crazy. And yeah, it was not great, but that's what you're going to get in the city. And I didn't see any billboards of Ian Snyder anywhere. I was looking everywhere for them.
No TSA or no PSA. What the hell did I say? TSA? No PSA announcements. You didn't get the infomercial or nothing. I'm sad.
I know. I told him I was looking everywhere, but yeah, it was a great trip. So I've done Kauai a few times, Maui a few times, Oahu. This was my second proper trip there. So now it's time, I think, to go to the Big Island, although I'm in no rush to go back to Hawaii. I went there twice this year, but I think we'll do the Big Island for Volcano National Park, stuff like that on our next trip, because I definitely want to see that.
Yeah, I think that would be something cool, and you gotta kind of knock them all off the list or check them all off of the list. And I think that's something unique that you don't get as much somewhere else. And there's not many places to see, volcanoes up close or anything like that anymore. So I think that's pretty awesome.
And one final more thing. 9 trips to Hawaii since 2013. That is amazing. Truly blessed. No way I'd be able to do that without miles and points. I mean, just the fact that this was always our dream vacation and that we get to do it time and time again. I'm just so blessed. And I really do feel that when I'm there, especially because I don't have a $10,000 or $15,000 bill when I get back.
I mean, probably like 1,000 nights just in Hawaiian hotels.
We're getting there. We're getting there. I can't wait to drop the ball. But let us know what you guys think about anything we talked about on this show. Aulani, have you been there? Do you agree with my sentiment? Do you think it's the best thing ever? I could certainly see Disney fans thinking that. Waikiki, the Hyatt Regency, the North Shore. What are your suggestions for Oahu? Leave them in the comments for other people coming along so that they can do it. Everybody has favorite places to eat, favorite places to see. So many suggestions we received, like of places to go and everything else. So, you can never do all of it, but leave your best suggestions for Hawaii. Everybody loves to share that. And let us know what you think about anything we talked about. And we will be back on Wednesday with 20-minute travel, all of the miles and points news, so you guys can keep up to date. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good week, everybody.